Welcome back, everyone. I'm actually supposed to be at a perfume event this evening, but we've just had this massive storm come through, so they have deferred it to another day. In which case, since I had already done my makeup, I had not done my hair, as you can tell, I thought may as well get comfy, put my pajamas on and film a video because we are not going outside this evening. Given that I'm a little unprepared, I might film the video that I didn't ever want to film, talking about the new things that have come into my wardrobe in the past year or so. I have quite a few here. A couple were gifted to me. I will highlight those when I get to them. For the most part, these were second-hand purchases with the exception of a couple. So let's just get into it in no particular order. Okay, well maybe it's easier to start with my most recent purchase. And this was literally something I picked up this week. Now I am in the process of trying to downsize my perfume wardrobe quite substantially because we are most likely going to be moving house sometime around the end of the year. And I don't know what we're moving into, and I don't think we can take much with us. So I'm actually going through not just my perfume, but the whole house at the moment, trying to get rid of anything that we don't use. It's a lot, as it turns out. I am finding it difficult to let go of things. And in particular, I am finding it quite difficult to go through the perfume collection. However, I will talk about that more perhaps in a vlog video, but for now, this is going to be a long video as it is probably, so I should just get on with it. So my point is that after all of that, I made an exception for this perfume, and you'll see why. This is a 200 milliliter bottle of Tonka Imperiale. Now, if you have watched my channel for a while, you know that this is my favorite Tonka forward perfume, and I was quite devastated when it got discontinued again. It got discontinued when the old bottles went out, and then it came back in this new bottle, and then it got discontinued again, which is devastating. I do have two older bottles of this. One of those I noticed was starting to evaporate quite a bit, so I actually took the atomizer off it and just put the screw cap on it to try and keep it more sealed. And then the other one has one of those bulb atomizers on, which I really, really hate, but I still didn't want to get rid of it because I figured at some point I would want to try and get the perfume out of that bottle and maybe transfer it to the other one so that I could use it more readily. I have seen a couple of videos where people have taken off the bowl, because obviously they're stamped on, so you can't unscrew them, but you can get some pliers and kind of rip it off, which makes me very nervous. But there are some videos floating around showing how to do that, so maybe I'll just do that. And I had resigned myself to the fact that that's what I was going to have to do. And then this bottle this week came up in our local Facebook page, and I think I was just really lucky. I think I saw it get posted within the hour of it being posted, and I pretty much jumped on it straight away. I did think about it because it was not an inexpensive purchase, being a 200 ml bottle, and it was more expensive than the original retail price of these bottles, but it was still under 4 figures, so which is astronomical. I know, but hear me out. I have been thinking seriously recently about maybe purchasing Tonka Serapia. Now that is a 50 ml bottle, and I know it's an extrait, but that one basically goes for the same price as what I just paid for this, for 200 mils, and this is still my original favorite. So it did hurt. It hurt to buy it, but I also had Matt's blessing, so I purchased it. And then someone who knows me must have seen the post in the Facebook group and seen my response to the post, and she messaged me the next day going, "Did you get it? Did you get it? I hope you got it," because I literally was talking to her about this a few weeks ago when I dropped something else off to her, and saying how much, how annoyed I was with myself for not buying one of these when I had the chance. Anyway, so that is Tonka Imperiale, an oldie, but definitely a goodie. The next one that I have just reached for is Amouage Existence. This is an aldehydic green / white floral perfume. I think there's quite a lot of lily of the valley. There's a lot of frankincense. Oh my goodness. I haven't smelled this for a couple of weeks, and my goodness, this smells good, this stuff. But it is super, super strong. And there was one day I think I might have over spritzed this on myself, and I did regret it. It is quite a strong perfume, but nonetheless, it is beautiful. And I was really good with this one. I used samples for months and months and months and months and months before I ultimately decided to put down the dollars to purchase this. And I did buy this at full retail, although I think there was a discount of some description, but it was, I bought it retail brand new, which also hurt. The next one is one by Les Indemodables, and this is Orange Sirocco. Now, I sampled this in Milan. I just couldn't get it out of my head after smelling it in Milan. And I remember the day that I sort of sampled it and I spritzed it on, and the Les Indemodables stand was really, really busy the whole time. So I didn't really get to linger there very much, and I just made a beeline for this one because this was the new one that I hadn't smelled, and I had a bit of a spritz and walked away basically. I just remember being quite obsessed with it in my head. I think I built it up a lot in my head. And then I ordered a bottle, which took months to be able to do because you couldn't buy these bottles in Australia very easily until fairly recently. Somebody has now started stocking them, which is really great. Yeah, I got the bottle in and I was surprised. I remember a lot of people describing this as being really fresh and bright. As an orange blossom, I don't think it's fresh and bright at all. I think it's quite spicy. So dark spices like cinnamon or something, and yeah, I don't find this to be particularly fresh. I find this to be more of a moody sort of orange blossom perfume. I really love it, but I was glad that it arrived in wintertime because it meant that I could really enjoy it, because I don't know if I would wear this that much in the summer, but I will try it in the summertime. But for me, this is more of a wintertime orange blossom. Anyway, so that is Orange Sirocco. The next one is Black Jade by Lubin, and I have been wanting a bottle of this for a long time, just never kind of got around to it. Really wish I had bought it years ago when I first sort of thought I was going to buy it, because it would have been a lot cheaper back then. This is a really lovely rose perfume that's green with it, but without being too fresh of a rose. It's quite powdery as well, and it's got this sort of vintage feel to it, which I really, really love. There's quite a bit of cardamom, I think, in the opening, and maybe some pepper in this one. So there's like this element of greenness that's kind of spicy and herbal, but at the same time, it's sort of very opulent, kind of powdery. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I feel like it's just a kind of a glamorous sort of perfume. And yeah, there's a few perfumes in my wardrobe that I sort of associate with being quite glamorous, and probably the bottle helps, but that is another one that I ultimately decided to purchase. Next up is another really recent one. I decided to grab a bottle of this before the recent price rises with this brand. This is Nightflower by Eris, and you can see I have already made quite a dent in it. I really, really have been wearing this quite a bit over the past probably month or so. I think I've had it for about a month. I was really in two minds. I couldn't decide if I wanted a bottle of this or if I wanted a bottle of Marbet, and ultimately I decided to go with this one, because even though I had kind of talked myself out of this bottle, because a lot of people have talked about it having similarities to Musc Ravageur by Frédéric Malle, and I do understand where that's coming from. But what I really like about this one is I think this one's a little bit more wearable because it's not as ambery and heavy. The florals in here are much more forward, and they're very luminous and glossy, and I really adore this perfume. The last few weeks I've been traveling for work quite a bit, and most of those trips I only took this with me, but a couple of those trips I took this and another decant with me, which I'll get to in a moment. But that is Nightflower by Eris. I am trying to go through these quickly because, you know, I just know that this video will end up being 2 hours long if I dwell too much on them. The next one that I picked up is a no-brainer. I'm pretty sure anyone who watches me or engages with my content would be aware that I was most likely going to pick this one up. This is the new Shalimar L'Essence. And I was curious about this one because I was not a huge fan of the Millesime Vanilla Planifolia flanker of Shalimar, which is probably one of the most favoured flankers of Shalimar in recent times. I do own a bottle of that, but it is not my favourite. I definitely love the Tonka one more, and I quite like the Jasmine one as well. So at first when I heard about this coming out, I was thinking, what is that going to be all about? Because I heard that it was meant to have more vanilla in it, and I was thinking, oh, is it just going to be another take on Vanilla Planifolia? So in the lead up to this arriving in the mail, I did start wearing Vanilla Planifolia a few times just to refamiliarize myself with it. And it is quite a sweet perfume, the Vanilla Planifolia, and it's quite sweet in the opening in particular. This is not like that. Yes, it does have a bit more of the vanilla in there, and yes, it is sweeter than the original Shalimar, and it doesn't have those really punchy citrusy notes in the top, but it's not as sweet in my view as the Vanilla Planifolia. And what I really like about this one is that in the dry down, you get quite a bit of, I get quite a bit of smokiness from this now, which is confusing because I know there's a couple of reviews going around where people say this isn't as smoky as the original Shalimar. But I think that they have retained that smoky, resiny base in here. It might not be as leathery or as punchy as the original, and I still do prefer the original Shalimar to this. I am an original Shalimar fan, but if you're not, and if you liked the Vanilla Planifolia but you thought it was too sweet, maybe give this one a go because it is a little bit darker in my view and not as sweet. And I think this is still a little bit closer to the actual original Shalimar, notwithstanding the fact that you don't have those big citruses in the top, which I think a lot of people had troubles with. But this is really, really nice. It's a very easy wear. I find it to be one that I prefer to reach for when I'm going to bed at night because it's just a very easy version of Shalimar to wear. But if I'm really honest, again, I still prefer the original to this. But I will happily wear this, and I will happily wear this over the Vanilla Planifolia. So that is Shalimar L'Essence. Next up is a homegrown fragrance. This is from one of our local brands down in Victoria in Australia, and this is called Some Velvet Morning, and it's by a brand called Heart and Heady. So the brains behind this brand are Juliet Fournier and Richard Adamson, and I think Richard is a brewer, so he either brews beer or distills liquor. I can't remember, but basically he's pretty familiar with formulations, and they have some really, really beautiful perfumes in their line. I think they like to use some local ingredients to Australia in their perfumes to just give them a more homegrown feel. This is a jasmine forward perfume, but it's great because it's not indolic in my opinion, or at least not too indolic. And there's quite a bit of depth and shadow in this perfume. And I don't know what they've done or what they've put in here, but it lends it a very velvety feel. And so the name is very, very apt for this perfume. The jasmine comes off being very soft and velvety and beautifully sort of blended in with the other aspects of this perfume, and it's very comforting. It's a beautiful one to wear. I mean, I like wearing it on spring days because of the jasmine. The jasmine does lend some brightness to it, but and probably along with a couple of other florals in here. But there is, a sort of a darker resinous tone that sort of runs through this perfume, and I think that makes it really wearable in the cooler months as well. And I think this is a really great one for all year round, and it is very fast becoming one of my favourite jasmine forward perfumes at the moment. So that is Some Velvet Morning by Heart and Heady. The next one is one that I'm a little bit shamefaced to show, because not too long ago I had a big rant about not this perfume but this brand. And I've never owned a perfume from this brand, and I said I would buy a perfume from this brand. But there was one perfume that I just couldn't seem to get enough of, and I did eventually end up picking up a bottle secondhand. I really didn't want to pay full retail for this, but you probably already guessed what it is, but it is Eladaria by Creed. And you can see I've made actually a little bit of a dent in that. So I have been wearing it quite a bit. As I described previously, it's a really lovely, rosy, musky perfume. People have compared it to Atelier. It's been compared to, I think, Fleur Narcotique as well. It's been also compared to the new BDK, which has a very Imperiale, which is sort of a similar name. I don't think this smells exactly like those, but I think the common link is that they're all quite musky perfumes. What I like about this one in particular is that muskiness is not piercing. It is a very strong perfume as well. I try not to spray too much of this because I did overwhelm myself one day where I wore it to work in the morning, and I was very reserved on my spritzing of it. And then I had to go to something in the evening, some kind of networking event or something, and I decided to top this up in the car on the way to the networking event. And by the time I arrived at that event, I had a massive headache because the whole car was just filled with this perfume. Even I tried to put the windows down, that didn't really help because I had spritzed it in the car. I had spritzed it quite close to my skin. I didn't have it, I wasn't able to spritz it from far away and have it sort of diffuse over me like I would if I was just in my house. It was just so concentrated on my skin, and it did give me a little bit of a headache, and I found it quite overwhelming. But it is a really great perfume. It's not a particularly unique profile. I feel like it smells like similar to a lot of other things, but it does have spectacular performance. And even though it is strong, it still has this soft, airy nature about it, which I really appreciate. So if I don't overspray it, I really, really, really enjoy wearing this. So that is Eladaria by Creed. Probably the last time I'll ever talk about it. The next one is one from MDCI, and this is Nuit Andalouse. I finally got to try most of the range from MDCI in Milan earlier this year, and I really enjoyed a few of them. And this one I really enjoyed. I decided to pick it up because I saw a bottle going for a really good price, and this was definitely a case of it wasn't a very thought through, considered purchase. I just knew that I had tried it, it was one of the ones I had enjoyed. I had noted it down, and I had noted it down in terms of, I should test it more, but I saw it come up for a good price, and I thought, I'll just grab it. And I am still enjoying it, but I don't tend to wear this one on its own very much. I tend to wear this actually in combination with something else, and that is this one, which is Narcisse Taiji, and I have talked about this quite a bit this year. This was a purchase fairly recently, probably a couple of months ago. I had an official travel size of this, and I absolutely loved it. And I thought, as we came into spring, I thought, okay, I'm going to grab a bottle. And I'm very glad that I did. I really, 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 really love this perfume. It's a very natural smelling yellow floral, not ylang ylang yellow, not mimosa. Maybe there's a bit of mimosa in there. It's just it's almost like a wildflower kind of floral. No strong scent profile that's really sweet or anything, but it's just got this sort of freshness about it, a lot of greenness to it, a lot of natural bushland type smell to it. That's an atrocious description, Cherie. But I really, really love this one. It is just so bright and sunny, and it's so easy to wear. And I don't know, sometimes when I just wanted to give it a little bit more sweetness, perhaps, I add a little bit of Nuit Andalouse, which is another take on Orange Blossom again. So I'm definitely having another moment with Orange Blossom this year. Last year it was Neroli, and I think that's just deviated back into the Orange Blossom realm. I used to love Orange Blossom fragrances. I bought Solar Blossom from Mise en Cere in 2020 and I absolutely loved it. I raved about it for ages, and then I stopped wearing it. I kind of went off Orange Blossom, and now I'm back into it with full force. Next up is one from Arquiste. This is Venice Rococo. This is a very powdery, slightly aldehydic, vintagey type of perfume. I feel like there's quite a bit of there must be heliotrope in this. When I first smelled this, I was convinced it was like a heliotrope type of perfume, but it could be the violet in here that's giving it that feel, coupled with this really, really powdery and slightly aldehydic aspect. It's kind of spicy. There's something a little bit animalic in the undertone. Nothing challenging in my opinion. I think the powderiness of this might be more challenging to people than the sort of animalic aspects. But there is something that just makes me think of a woman's bedroom. And this is, if I'm being perfectly honest, I would love for my bedroom to smell like this all the time. It's very feminine, but at the same time kind of a little bit seductive. And I really, really like this. So that is Venice Rococo by Arquiste. I feel like I'm only about halfway through. The next one is one that I will not talk about for very long because I have been going on and on and on and on about it for months now, and I had just purchased another decant of it, and then somebody contacted me and said, hey, one of the online perfumeries in Australia, they're having a sort of a closing down sale and they're selling off their testers, and so I got this at a fantastic price. This is Rahele by Neela Vermeire. I love this perfume so much, and I can't tell you how happy I am to have picked up this tester. So it doesn't look as pretty. The bottle doesn't look as pretty because it doesn't have the official lid or the tassel or anything like that. But I don't care. This is a beautiful perfume, and it was really good timing because I almost just sort of bit the bullet and bought a brand new bottle of it, and then this person let me know that they had this going for a fraction of the price, so I just went, okay, that's a no-brainer, I have to have that one. So this is an Osmanthus forward perfume. It's got this leathery undertone, the florals, again, it has this sort of vintagey feel to it. I can't get enough of this. This is so good. And so this and Nightflower have kind of been my two staples for the last month or so. I've traveled everywhere with these. Not with this, I took the decant. I didn't take this bottle. This bottle only arrived about a week ago. But these have been my absolute go-to perfumes for the last month or so. And I have not, these two perfumes I love so much that normally when I travel, I might take a bottle with me and then I might take a bunch of samples as well because, I don't want to, I'm always worried that I won't have the thing that I feel like wearing on the day. And so I usually take a bunch of samples just to have variety. But with these two in my perfume wardrobe, I do not need variety. I'm so happy with these, and I wear them a lot. I don't know how much I'm going to wear Rahele in the summertime though, because I think I might struggle some days on the really hot days to wear this. But Nightflower, I think I could wear in the warmer months, no problem. But Rahele, because that leathery aspect in there, probably not going to be something that I can reach for all the time. Next up, we have another One Way Bridge perfumes fragrance. This is one that I haven't spoken about yet, but this is Ever Never. And I bought this one. It was on clearance. It was one of the ones I think she's discontinued. Interestingly, when I looked at the description, I thought, oh, that sounds like it'll be a really lovely floral perfume. But when I talked to her about it, she's like, oh yeah, it's one of my favourites amongst my male clientele. And I was like, oh, but it sounds so floral. It's a lilac perfume. There's lots of lilac in the top. And certainly when you first spray it on, it is very much lilac and it's beautiful. It's really, really nicely done. But then as it dries down, it becomes more grassy and shaving cream like. So it does definitely go into a masculine direction, but the opening is so beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful perfume all round, but I definitely think it leans in the masculine direction. But I really struggled to understand how it could lean masculine when she was talking to me about it, because I was so focused on the lilac and the florals that were in the description. And I thought, goodness, how is that going to be masculine? But it is. But at the same time, I really, really enjoy it, and I think I will wear this. Matt has been wearing it, but I think I will be wearing this quite a bit in the summer because it's very refreshing, actually. So that is Ever Never. Look at me, I'm really starting to pick up speed here. I'm also noting that my battery's about to run dead soon. I also picked up another Chanel. This is the Eau de Cologne, and in the Les Exclusives. I don't know if I've talked about this. Have I talked about it? I can't remember. This is one that I picked up, I think, in the midst of winter when I kind of was in that mood of wanting something really fresh and bright. I mean, there are so many other things that are already in my wardrobe that I could have had. Did Chanel have another price hike this year? I can't remember, but I seem to recall thinking that I wanted to pick this up before they raised their prices again. And the Eau de Cologne at the time was going cheaper than the rest of the range because it is an Eau de Cologne. But I have a sneaking suspicion that they're now selling this at the same price as the other Les Exclusives. But I definitely did not pay the normal Les Exclusives price, not the Eau de Parfum price. I did not pay for this. This was definitely in the $200 range. It was under $300. I do remember that. Maybe $275, which is still a lot for an Eau de Cologne, effectively. But I actually really do like this Eau de Cologne. It's very, very nice. So that is, the Eau de Cologne by Chanel. Another one I picked up in Milan. I was waiting to get to a Diptyque boutique to get this because Henna from CanadianBeauty.com had sent me a sample of this perfume a couple of years ago now, or maybe 18 months ago. I can't remember exactly when. And I did talk about it on a vlog, I think. But it's so beautiful. But at the time, I couldn't easily get it because we don't have a Diptyque boutique in my city. So this is Eau Lente. And I really like this one because it makes me think of Christmas. And I like it a lot as well because our Christmases are warm and hot. And this has that aspect of being Christmassy. It kind of reminds me of cinnamon sugar. So it's, cinnamony, and you've got some of these heavier spices in there, but at the same time it's kind of a bit sparkly and crystalline and bright. It's also quite powdery as well. But yeah, it just reminds me of, it just makes me think of Christmas, and I love it for us in particular because our Christmases are warm, and I feel like this works really well as a Christmas scent because it's not too heavy and cloying in the heat. So that is Eau Lente. Beautiful, beautiful perfume. Next up are two that I bought off a friend of mine. She was downsizing her wardrobe and she was letting these ones go. This is Solaris by Penhaligons. It's a, I guess, a neroli orange blossom kind of scent. It's quite sweet as well. And it has this sort of marshmallowy vibe about it. And I remember the first time I ever tried this, it did remind me, or it made me think of Love Don't Be Shy by Kilian, just because of this sort of sweet, vanillic, marshmallowy kind of aspect to it. But the neroli really takes it in a different direction, and it's not as sweet as Love Don't Be Shy, but I actually quite like this one. And there are some other sort of solar florals in here, possibly Ylang Ylang. It has that sort of yellow, fleshy yellow floral vibe. Possibly some tiare flower as well, if I remember correctly. It's also, I guess, a little bit woody. It's a little bit aromatic and kind of citrusy as well, like vanillic citrusy, that sweet citrus. And it's lovely. So I was very happy to pick this one up at a very, very good price. And then the next one I bought off her was Musk Chamal, which is a musk fragrance. You might not be able to see that. It's a musk fragrance that is quite aldehydic in the top. And I have days when I really like this, and then there's been other days where I've put it on and I've really kind of not liked it. So this one might be on the chopping block. I do really like it, but I think there's something in this that I just find a bit piercing. And it's not the musk. I don't think it's the musk note, because the musk notes in here sort of do feel very soft. And rounded edges and all that, but there is something quite piercing in here, and I don't know what it is. It gives it kind of a bit of a synthetic feel. Maybe it's a woody note. It could be woods. There's just something not working for me, I don't think. So I might test it a little bit more, but given that I have to downsize my perfume collection anyway, I'll probably declutter this one. The next one is one that I really love, and I'm so excited to wear this in the heat. This is Angeli di Firenze by Santa Maria Novella. This is a really just lovely, watery, fresh fragrance. It's got a really lovely pear note in the top. It is quite watery in the way that pear would be watery, but it's got sort of very watery florals as well. Like I think there's cyclamen in here. Maybe there's a bit of lotus or something as well. But that kind of watery floral, and I just find it really refreshing, and it's just a really lovely one. And I always think, if I'm wearing a white shirt and jeans or something, this would be like the perfect thing in summer. You pair this with a white linen shirt and jeans and sandals or something. It's like the perfect perfume for that sort of vibe. But it's like a breath of fresh air, this perfume. It's really, really pretty. And I am trying to rush now because I'm definitely going to run out of time. The next one is another Guerlain. This is Joyous Tuberose. I bought the little bottle, the little baby bottle. Did I buy this brand new, or did I buy it secondhand? I can't remember. I think I bought this on the Facebook group, and I really love this one. I had a sample of this a couple of years ago, and I think I did talk about it at the time. It's a very green tuberose perfume, and in fact I was a bit sneaky. So one of my friends really, really, really hates tuberose with a passion, and she's a huge perfume buff. She has a lot of really great vintage stuff, but she just despises tuberose. And I tricked her one day. I took a sample to her place of this, didn't tell her what it was, got her to try it, and she really liked it. And she said, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, it's Joyous Tuberose by Guerlain." But the reason I felt safe giving it to her to try is because I know she really loves green perfumes, and this is such a vibrant green tuberose. No, it's not the floral that's green. You've got a lot of green notes coupled with the tuberose. So it's not like a green tuberose like you would get in, say, Carnal Flower by Frederic Malle. It's not like that. And that's quite dark as well. This is really bright, very effervescent almost. It's mouth-watering and tart. Like there's a tartness to these green notes. It's really, really, really good, and really good for someone like me who lives in a hot climate. I will absolutely thoroughly enjoy wearing this one in the summertime. So that is Joyous Tuberose. The next one is one that I bought a couple of months ago as well. I think I've talked about this a couple of times, but this is Flower Lust by D'Orsay, and you can't really see the label very well. Look, I was very, very curious about it. I'm very glad I picked it up. I really like it. It's a beautiful floral fragrance, very opulent, very rich, but it's got quite a bit of tonka in the base, and I really, really enjoy it. But it did remind me quite a lot of Supreme Bouquet by YSL, which I also own, but I like this one better. I think the YSL one is, it doesn't have that tonka in the base. It doesn't have the same sort of opulence about it in a way. I thought I was maybe going to make it before the battery died, but no. What was I saying? Yeah, I think I like this one better than Supreme Bouquet, partly because I feel like this has a more softer, cozy element. I think Supreme Bouquet is probably more floral forward in a way, but it's more clarified, a bit more translucent, even though it's also quite a punchy floral. I just find that the notes that are in the base of this really help to soften the whole perfume, and I think I just prefer this one. It just has a bit more of a softer, cozier element to it. Although I will note that Dominique Ropion is the perfumer for this one, and I do believe he also was the perfumer behind Supreme Bouquet, so that could also explain the similarity between the two. All right, so the last three are all ones that were gifted to me, and I'm starting to lose my voice. I've been talking a lot. This is a perfume by a brand called Aisha Hansen Fine Fragrances in Australia. Now, I did a workshop with Aisha several months ago now, where I made my own perfume with her, and it was the best perfume workshop I've ever done. So I've done quite a few now. I've done a couple in France and I've done one in Bali, and I have to say I thought Aisha's workshop was the best, and it was the only one that I've come out of with a perfume that I actually really like and do wear. And it has really encouraged me to maybe think about exploring more the option of just making my own perfumes, like for me, just for fun. I've been making candles and stuff for the last year or so, and I haven't been selling them or anything. It's really, I just make them for me. I just wanted to make candles for myself and have enough supply of candles to keep me going, because I burn candles almost every day. And also I had a lot of beautiful glass from all the Trudon candles that I've had over the years, and I've kept all the glass, but I'd sort of run out of uses for them. I've used them for all sorts of things, but then I thought, well, why don't I just make candles and put the candle in the glass, and then I can reuse it as it was intended. So that's kind of what I've been doing in more recent times. But I'm getting off track. I really just never thought, because I had never made a perfume that I liked, I just didn't think that maybe I could make a perfume for myself. And a lot of people have suggested that I make my own perfumes because obviously I'm really into perfume. But I'm like, no, I can't. That's another level of skill required that I just don't have. And I'm not saying that I could make anything of this ilk, but if I'm just making it for me, it doesn't really matter, does it? So anyway, I'm getting off track. Golden Thread is a really lovely, I think ylang ylang perfume. It does have ylang ylang in the top, and jasmine. And but the ylang ylang in the top is very banana-y, because she did actually put a banana note in here. So it's also quite green, and it's almost like an actual green banana. You know how they have that sort of spikiness about them? When they're really, really green, they're not ripe enough to eat yet, and you cut one open. there's that sort of smell in here. And the undertone of this fragrance is that there's quite a lot of dark spices in here, I think. So they really balance it out, which gives it a really sort of dusty feel as well. And the inspiration for this perfume was for her a memory of summer mornings as a kid, being near the beach, waking up early, having the sun streaming through and having the dust mites sort of floating in the air, but then going down the beach. And I think she was talking about eating a banana flavoured ice cream or something. And there was a particular type of ice cream that she referred to, which I was not familiar with. But I remember when she was talking about it, if you go onto Pep's Instagram, I'm pretty sure he did a live stream with her on Instagram, and he's probably saved it on there. But she explained the inspiration behind all of her fragrances. She's got 3 that she's released so far, but this one was my favourite, and she gifted this travel size to me, which I'm very grateful for. So that is Golden Thread by Aisha Hansen. The next one is a very special gift that was given to me. Earlier this year when we went to Milan, we went via Oman and stopped in Muscat, and we were there to visit friends, but we were also there strategically because I wanted the opportunity to go and visit the Amouage facility. And so I did. I got to go and have a tour, and Mark Tuka, who I was connected to on Instagram for years, and then he got a job with Amouage and relocated to Oman to work at Amouage. And so I contacted him before we went and said, would you be open to meeting up? It would be lovely to meet you. And he said, yes, come in and we'll take you around the facility. So he just gave me the tour. It's the same tour that everyone gets, but he just did it one-on-one with me. And it was so lovely. I had a really good time. And these fragrances had just been released. So this is a bottle of Reasons. I think I have shown this to you guys before. He was showing them to me because I hadn't smelled them yet. And he said, which one is your favourite? And I said, I think it's this one. Anyway, so then he excused himself. He said, look, I've got a meeting to get to, so he just said, is it okay if I just leave you here and you can, smell the perfumes, etc. And I said, yeah, sure, no worries. And then he disappeared and he came back with a gift bag, and he had gifted me a bottle of this. So he'd obviously been sussing out which one I liked the best. So I think I went to visit Amouage literally on our first day in Oman. And then, of course, I wore this the entire time that I was in Oman, which was only 4 days, I think, 4 or 5 days. But, whenever I smell this now, I am instantly back in Oman. And I'm very, very grateful because, prior to buying the Tonka Imperiale, I was definitely adamant that I would never have spent that much money on a bottle of perfume. So I'm very grateful to have this one. But it is a really lovely one to wear in the warmer weather. I think Sam from My World of Fragrance once described this one as smelling a little bit like Guidance if you took it for a walk in the forest or something like that. It is interesting though, because when I first smelled this, I never picked up that association with Guidance. I can see where people are getting that from now. It took me a long time to sort of get the association. So it doesn't smell like Guidance, but there are some similarities to the scent profile in here, but then you've got a lot of other sort of aromatic woody tones and earthy tones associated with this one that aren't in Guidance. And so they're very different in my opinion. And the other thing that's interesting about these is when you smell them, they don't smell like a strong perfume. They smell like something that would disappear maybe after a couple of hours. But this has really, really good longevity. And I'm wondering if it has something to do with the fact that the sandalwood is infused into that alcohol. But it is a very interesting perfume, and I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful to have it. So that is Reasons by Amouage. And then the last one is one that arrived in the mail this week, and I didn't even realise it was coming. So this is a little package from YSL, and inside is a bottle of the Libre Eau de Parfum. So this is not a new perfume, but they're obviously doing a bit of a campaign because I think there is a new flanker that's come out. There was the water-based one. Oh, I do have that as well, actually, which I did a little short on, I think. I definitely uploaded something onto TikTok about it. The water-based one was nice. It was like a really bright orange blossom without the really strong, punchy citrus notes in there. And the lavender I felt was really toned down in that. This is the Eau de Parfum, which I actually had never tried, as it turns out. I've tried the Eau de Toilette. That was the first one I ever tried, and I didn't really like the Eau de Toilette. I felt like the lavender was a little bit too much for me in that one. And then I did own the Libre Intense for a little while. That was a more vanillic take on the Libre profile. And then they had the Libre Parfum, which also was even more vanilla-y than the Intense. The Intense also, I think, just had the florals amped up as well. It was like the florals were kind of more syrupy. But the Eau de Parfum, okay, so I was really surprised. I tried this. I received this and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to like this, because I haven't really been a huge fan of the Libre profile. It just hasn't been my favorite. I did like the Intense, as you know, and I did have a bottle of that. I've since sold it because it was just so strong that I felt like every time I wore it, it was just wearing me. But this is something that I could wear, I think, this Libre Eau de Parfum. It's giving me holiday vibes, pretty much like the water-based one, the Low New version in the white bottle. That sort of had a really holiday feel to it as well. So I'm smelling this and I'm thinking I should be on an island somewhere swanning around near a beach, you know? That's the vibe that I'm getting, because it's just so bright and happy. So yeah, that's a recent addition. I opened it and I was thinking, well, this isn't going to stay, but maybe it'll stay for a while, if not forever. But I actually do like the Eau de Parfum, interestingly. I really did not expect to like that, because I didn't enjoy the Eau de Toilette. But there you go. So they are all the perfumes that have been added to my wardrobe in the last 12 months or so. Like I said, I did go a bit crazy this year, and with the exception of the Tonka Imperiale, I have no intention of purchasing any more, because I really need to get things out of my house, not bring more in. But I'm really happy with everything that is here, though. I will happily, except for maybe the Musc Chamal, everything else that's here, I really enjoy and I'll happily wear. Yeah, I guess maybe I just have to go through the wardrobe and see what things fall below these and start letting go of some things. It is hard. It's hard to say goodbye to things, particularly perfumes, because there's always the chance you might come back around to it, even if you've gone off something. Like I said, I was really off Orange Blossom for a couple of years in recent times, and I almost decluttered Solar Blossom, and I'm so glad I didn't, because I really love that perfume. It just goes to show that, you know, you might come back around to them and you might miss them if you get rid of them. And some of these things I wouldn't be able to repurchase if I found myself without them, and if I did decide to come back to them. So I do have that real FOMO thing going on in my head where I worry that I'll miss them if I let them go, which I know is a thing that people struggle with a lot when going through the decluttering process, not just with perfumes, but with everything. I might need it one day, I might want it one day. But when it comes to other things in my house, like clothes and things like that, I find myself being less concerned about that. You know, I'm happy to let things go to make the room. And, you know, if I ever need that thing again one day, I'll just buy that thing or buy a different version of that thing. But with perfume, you know, it doesn't quite work that way. Anyway, I will stop rambling. Thank you very much for joining me, and please be nice in the comments, and don't judge too harshly. But I know that these videos do tend to attract some negativity, and I'm prepared for that. You know, it is what it is. It's fine. But I also know that the people who requested this video will not be amongst those. So thank you so much again for all your support and for your patience, because I haven't obviously been very active here. And look, the reality is, in the lead up to the end of the year, I probably won't be very active. Thank you for all your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.